Coverage. We are 95.3 W237CW Pinellas Park, WRUV HD3 Clearwater, and AM 620 WDAE St. Petersburg, and iHeart Radio Station. Morning, the Pat and Aaron Show.
Is it a little too early for being that loud?
Good morning, Tampa Bay. And here we go. Now your hosts, Pat Donovan and Aaron Jacobson.
Good morning, goons. Welcome to the Pat and Aaron Show, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620, coming to you live on a Tuesday morning.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is?
Taco Tuesday!
Usually that Jack and Aaron are talking about like Game of Thrones or Taco Tuesday, and you can't listen to them.
Let me give you some advice, bastard. Never forget what you are. The rest of the world will not. Wear it like armor.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
It is a Game of Thrones and Taco Tuesday here on the Pat and Aaron Show, and I am immediately, Aaron, brought back to a text we got yesterday, and I didn't realize we'd be having this conversation today. But yesterday we were discussing, and I think it's you mentioned, that Liam Cohen had become the most hated man in Tampa Bay from a sports hate standpoint.
Public enemy number one.
And somebody texted in, I think it may have been Keith, who was very adamant, by the way, that you know that the Howard Franklin is closed overnight tonight.
Well, considering I use it, it's good information.
It is good information. Yes, it's something you should all know. So, but on top of that, I think it may have been Keith. My apologies if it was somebody else. But somebody else pointed out, as we were having the discussion, and you'd said Liam Cohen has become public enemy number one. He's become the most hated man in Tampa Bay from a sports hate standpoint. Somebody texted in and said Stu over Liam. And I thought, that's interesting. And that's an interesting conversation about which one of those guys right now in Tampa Bay is more hated. And then later on, I happened to stumble upon a new article from Colleen Wright, who, by the way, will join us at 8 o'clock to talk about this article today about, and Aaron, maybe I'm just out of the loop here. Did you know about the State of the Bay event coming at the Vinoy Golf Club yesterday?
I did not know about it.
I did not know of the State of the Bay event at the Vinoy Golf Club. Aaron, we were not invited. Despite being right there, center stage for the photo for Here to Stay, we were not invited as dignitaries to the State of the Bay yesterday at the Vinoy Golf Club. But that did happen. And as part of that, Stu Sternberg sat down with our local mayors, including Welch and Mayor Castor.
It was a big day because until now, really Brian Auld was primarily the guy we were getting our information from.
As we've heard ad nauseum from our friend, what
a friend we got
on the text line.
Very close
Sincerely
friend.
Guy. Sorry, I was drawing a blank. I saw his real name in front of my face. Sincerely Guy has texted in a million times about this. We really haven't heard from Stu Sternberg about this whole situation.
No, not at all.
And
Brian Auld, he's had mouthpieces that we know, but he hasn't said anything.
Until yesterday, sort of. And he sort of said some things yesterday, and I'll say that, sort of. And again, we'll talk to Colleen Wright about her article. You can see it on the Tampa Bay Times, tampabay.com. His comments are, as a Rays fan, just so frustrating and honestly infuriating. And again, he spoke with Welch. He spoke with Castor. This is a big event yesterday at the Vinoy, the State of the Bay. And it was about, I'm sure, a lot more than just the Rays, but it was about the Rays. And Sternberg spoke, and he really didn't have a lot to say. And he was I think he was evasive is the word that I would use, right? And you know, if you've been listening to this show, I very much, through most of this discussion, have sided with the Rays on most of this because I think that Pinellas and St. Pete, they just needed to get the ballpark done. That's what they agreed to in last year, and that's what just needed to happen. Now, as Mayor Welch puts it, they just need the closer to close the deal in baseball terms. And as Mayor Welch put it, The closer is the Rays. They're the ones that need to wrap this thing up at this point.
And you're absolutely right. I think Stu was evasive yesterday, and we'll get into some portions of that. But the portion that I just find mind-blowing, and it makes me wonder, does he just think we're all stupid, or does he not care about what we actually think as long as he just keeps playing this narrative? But, I mean, he keeps talking about the money that he's needed now because of the overruns and the rising costs caused by the delay in the earlier votes. Well, one, you've had more time since that vote to now than before that you haven't said anything, you haven't started anything.
And if you've done anything, you've certainly made it sound like you haven't.
Exactly. And two, on top of that, when asked about the money, what figures, specific details about why, and I brought this up last month. Yeah. What do you like? I said that, people were like, what do you mean? People's lives were changed, and when they change their plans, and that costs a lot of money.
They've thrown out like very vague numbers, but they haven't been very specific at all.
And he won't, and we haven't seen any specific numbers. So if you're so adamant that these overrun costs, these rising costs are so astronomical, you would think you would at least have a ballpark figure and why that number is there.
Well, they have until, as you likely know, we have until the Rays do until March 31st to complete a checklist of things for their side of this deal. And it's not like one of those little things like, oh yeah, you get it done, you don't get it. No. Like they either get this done or the whole deal can go away. And St. Pete will make out on that. And the Rays know that. So they have until the 31st. Here is what Stu Sternberg said yesterday at the Vinoy as part of the State of the Bay. We'll decide how we want to proceed at that point. We have to make a decision, so we'll have something by then. What? And I'll be honest with you, this to me, as I said to Aaron before the show, not even what stands out most to me. He also says when it comes to the March 31st deadline, to be fair to Stu, I'll make sure our organization does what's necessary to meet whatever conditions we need to meet. He sounds like a guy who doesn't know what those conditions are, and I'm sure he does. Just the way I think one of his biggest problems is he doesn't know how to, he's not a good politician. He doesn't know how to speak about what he wants to say, and he comes across
or avoid what he doesn't want to say. That's a politician. The good politician knows how to get around it. Listen, Pat, and I've been saying this for a while. This stadium's not going to get done under current owner Stu Sternberg. It's just not.
Well, to your point, this is what I found most interesting in the article, for me anyways. Sternberg declined to discuss whether he is considering a sale of the team's majority stake. What I read there is, sorry, I was very easily distracted by somebody jumping into our computer here.
Don't worry about it.
Sci-fi. I read that Stu Sternberg's selling the team. That's what I read. That's what I decipher from those words. And we'll talk to Colleen Wright, who wrote this article in the Tampa Bay Times at 8:00. And I'm going to ask her if she believes that as well. But you know, Aaron, we've heard over the years when the discussion of selling the team has come up, Stu has always said he plans to be here for a long time. He plans to own this team for a long time. He wants to keep the team in Tampa Bay for all, we've heard everything he has to say, but he's always positioned it, at least the way I've heard it, as not only is he going to try to keep the Rays in Tampa Bay, he is going to be the owner of this team for a long time, is the way I've heard him talk about it, in my opinion. And this, to me, when he won't talk about if he's considering a sale of the team's majority stake, that to me tells me either A, he's absolutely considering it and probably already discussing it, or B, he knows that Major League Baseball and the commissioner has told him, you're going to figure this out or you're going to sell the team. you're not going to hamper the future results of what we want to happen in Major League Baseball. And by the way, it doesn't just involve Tampa Bay, right? Like, because they want to expand, and they're not going to expand as long as the Rays are in who knows where land. So they want this thing done. And I wouldn't be surprised if they've said to him, hey, you figure it out, or you're going to sell the team to somebody who does.
I would agree with you on that. And I think you look at Commissioner Chris Latvala in Pinellas County, and he's been on a run on Twitter. He seems very confident in everything he's saying, and listen, he's very out there with sell the team stew. He had a meeting, for those that don't know, we've talked about it on the show. And we had him on the show to talk about it. He had a private meeting with Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred, and the level of confidence I've seen from him on social media, Chris Latvala, since that private meeting. Now, he did not tell us the details of that meeting on the air. He did not tell us the details of that meeting off the air.
You can text us, though, anytime, Chris Latvala. You've got our numbers.
But what you just said is something that I think was very much discussed and was a big talking point in that meeting. And whatever Commissioner Latvala heard from Rob Manfred, he left that meeting feeling very comfortable and very confident for the city of St. Pete, for Pinellas County, that the Rays weren't going to go anywhere. And if that meant a new owner having to take over, that's the case. And what I don't understand, Pat, is why does Stu want this team? Why doesn't? You're going to make so much money by selling this team.
You're going to make more money by selling the team or keeping it through the renovations?
It just seems like it's a headache.
And all the stuff.
Dude, it's done.
All the stuff
just
included.
But he's got to let it go.
Okay,
because we see through it. And everyone sees through it. Yeah, but you know what? Like, at this point, it's up. We see it. Like, everyone sees what you're trying to do. The play is dead. And I know he doesn't want the play to be dead, but the play is dead. Everyone sees what he's trying to do with the redevelopment. He's trying to make money off the redevelopment with not having to pay for a stadium or not having the stadium there. I don't think he wants stadium there at all. He wanted Pinellas County.
I'll tell you what, if he truly believes that that's something he can accomplish, he's an idiot.
He wanted Pinellas.
If he thinks that he can get the renovation money and never build a ballpark, and it's actually going to work out for him, he's an idiot.
He wanted Pinellas County and the city of St. Petersburg to fall on their face and him be able to still reap the benefits and rewards of the redevelopment and not have the stadium there. Guess what? It didn't happen. It's up. It's over. Move on. Sell the team. That is how I think this has to proceed. And it's not a bad thing. Stu has done a really good job for what it's worth with this team and with this organization, being able to save money, do some things to make the Trop in a more inviting place, a more welcoming, comfortable place. The players putting the right pieces in place, having the right Eric Neander, having all those guys in place that have made this organization better. But at some point, you've done a good job. Now it's time to sell it to somebody who isn't going to treat this as just an investment, but is going to try to go win a World Series. And I'm not saying Stu is not trying to win a World Series, but he's not putting the best foot forward to do what's right for the city, for the team, for the franchise, for the future of the city and the team in St. Pete.
I just don't want to get in a position where we think as fans, or we convince fans to think that because we end up with a new owner, it's going to be one that has a massive payroll in comparison to what Stu Sternberg has, because it doesn't mean that's going to be the case.
I think it will be bigger than what it is, and the stadium deal is very important. And yeah, well, listen, and if the owner comes in, a new owner comes in and isn't ready to spend some money, then I'll be critical of that. You buy a sports franchise, you have to understand you're not just buying the team. You're going to have to invest in players, all right? So if you don't have that kind of cash, if you can't pony up for some of the big stars, then don't get in the game. Stay out of the ring, and it's fine. You don't have to be the richest owner in the world. You have a ton of money. You did a good job. Sell the team and move go do whatever you want to do. You're not a bad guy. Doesn't mean you're a bad guy. It just means you don't have enough money for this team.
Yeah. Or you go find the money. There's plenty of investors out there, and if you want to get this thing built, figure out how to get it built. But don't ask the county and the city for more money after the two hurricanes. It's just completely ridiculous to think that that's going to be part of the solution. All right, when we return, it's time for Casey Warner's Top Headlines. It's the top headlines in all of sports with our guy Casey Warner coming up next on the Pat and Aaron Show on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
WDAE
traffic update. from the Moss Nissan Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Wawa.
Overnight construction in the clearing stages on southbound 275 near 22nd Avenue South. Already seeing delays on westbound I-4 from Alexander Street in Plant City over towards Branch Forbes Road. Traffic slowing down on westbound I-4 just before 275 and the downtown.
To the Pat and Aaron Show on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Top headlines.
Time for today's top headlines on the Pat and Aaron Show. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or X, you see our cool new graphics there on there. If you don't see the cool new graphics, go and watch us live on the live stream. Of course, if you're not watching on the live stream, there's another way you can be listening, and that's on the new and improved iHeartRadio app. It's finally here. I know you've been waiting for it. The new presets feature is just like your car. You can save your favorite station like this one right here, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Save those to your custom presets. You know, they're the most convenient way to find us anytime, anywhere on the iHeartRadio app. So go open up your iHeartRadio app. If you don't have it, download it. All right, it's free. And then make sure you save a preset for 95.3 WDAE and AM 620 so you're listening to the Pat and Aaron Show every morning. Smart decision. Casey Warner, speaking of smart, he's smart. He has today's top headlines.
Yeah, do that. Download that iHeartRadio app. Do that. And do us a favor here, and let's all have a good time listening to Liam Cohen. A lot of coaches were introduced yesterday. Aaron Glenn, Liam Cohen, Brian Schottenheimer. Some new faces around the NFL on new teams. And
who did the Saints hire again?
Still nobody. That's the question.
What the hell's going on with the New Orleans Saints?
Who's marching in? They're waiting until all the Super Bowl hype is in New Orleans.
You think so?
Everyone's in New Orleans.
That's right, yeah.
And then they're going to drop it.
They're going to be like, hey, everybody, let's get hyped for Mike McCarthy. The least hype human being on the planet.
So Liam Cohen, there's certainly a lot to get to from that press conference yesterday, but I think this is without a doubt the most profound.
And that's really what this is going to come down to is honesty. I want to surround ourselves with people that are going to be able to tell you hard truths, be able to show you your blind spots, because that's really, like I mentioned, where growth occurs, when you can truly be yourself and be honest with looking in the mirror, knowing that process to get you there was clean and it was right, and the results will speak for themselves.
What?
Duval.
Yeah.
The honesty thing, Liam Cohen, is bizarre to me because clearly that's not how you handled the situation right in front of you. Why did you? I'm not coming to Jacksonville. I don't want any part of They're incredibly proud of a county where, like, I'll be honest with you, like, I've been to Jacksonville. It sucks. But you didn't have to say that. But if you need a guy, only on the phone because I'm not coming to Jacksonville, but if you need a guy to point out some of your quote-unquote blind spots, Liam Cohen, I got you.
But I don't know why he said it like that. I mean, the way he smiled. Do
you think he was high on cocaine? Because that's the suggestion on the Bartow 48 text line.
It wasn't quite. Yeah, it was so. And the way he looked when he was doing it, like he was moving his head and smiling, it wasn't quite Adam Gase eyes, but it was, and everyone remembers that. If you don't, when he was introduced as the Jets head coach, it was like,
how do you not remember that?
What's going on with those eyes? Have you guys seen what's going around recently, like the AI generated people that they put out there, and they're doing weird stuff? Mm-hmm. When I saw that from Liam Cohen,
he was AI?
I was like, that's somebody just did that AI. They're messing with Liam Cohen, and then I kept seeing it popping up, and I was like, no, that is Liam Cohen making the most awkward Duval I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I think that was just priceless. I mean, that's as awkward and as funny as it gets, in my opinion.
I saw one of those AI generated items, and it was like a joke. And it's like, you know how you can tell this photo's AI, and it's got all kinds of stuff in the photo circled that is totally normal, like an old lady in the background, a thermostat, and then as you're looking at the photo, what you notice is actually the waitress who's standing in the front. She's got her hands like on a tray, and her hands are actually feet. And when I saw that, I thought, oh, man, this is like Casey Warner's dream girl right here.
Incredible.
I don't know. Like, he was, I mean, him talking about the honesty thing is mind-blowing. For him to not have that.
He's a new man. He's a changed man.
But to not have the self-awareness of, even if you don't think you were at fault in the situation, to not understand, and he knows, he's got to, his wife knows, the conversation and the narrative around him right now is that he is a liar. And for him to open up and talk about how honesty is essentially the pillar is just insanity.
By the way, our dude Matt at 1771, he just had surgery. So if you want to buy a shirt from him, I know it'll help pay for his surgery. He did a shirt. I don't know if you saw it, Aaron, where it just says Liam on the front, but all of it is red except for half of the M. So what you see is liar, except the M completed is white, but it's pretty fresh. It's a fresh design.
I like that, and I think eventually he'll be fine in Jacksonville. But imagine what he's going through in his head. What a whirlwind 2 weeks for him. Now, he knows he's going to be up for head coaching jobs. But for him, he was an offensive coordinator. Talking about it even a year ago.
He may never be up for a job that's going to pay him this much right out of the gate.
And never. I mean, think about how much. And they were parading him around. I mean, he's going to get $60 million. The parading, but he was going to be in his 40s, early 40s by the time that contract ends. He's going to be loaded. He's never had that kind of money thrown into him. We thought $4 to $5 million was a lot. Try $60 million. I totally understand. I go back to I was just mad with the process and frustrated with the lack of honesty. Take your bag. I get it. You want your money, get your money. But when they're parading him around, and the Jags social media is putting all the videos of him.
They love it.
They love it. And he's walking around.
They said he's a natural, Aaron.
I saw that video too. I just like, what? I don't understand what is he doing?
He's naturally saying Duval.
He did
in
Duval.
That one, unlike the other one, it was not natural at all.
Over under on how many times he said Duval yesterday? Probably
46 and a half.
Yeah. Probably. But they're parading him around, and it was really awkward because I'm like, this has got to be so.
That happens with every head coach. Like, let's be fair.
Yeah, but for someone that young, who's a year ago he wasn't even an offensive coordinator in this.
He's not even the youngest coach in the league, I don't think.
Yeah, but he wasn't even an offensive coordinator a year ago.
So
he was
you're
going
not,
back and forth from college to the
You're not
NFL.
supposed to treat him like everybody treats a new coach.
No. That's not what I'm saying.
Well, they're parading him around.
Yeah, but the perspective of what I'm saying is how it must be crazy for Liam Cohen for that. That's what I'm talking about. Is a year ago he was unheard of, really, for in a lot of circles, and now he's $60 million. He walks in his big office, his name's everywhere, and you can see it. He's like, whoa. And I think that realization of like, I have arrived and it has happened quickly, that's got to be a lot. It's got to be overwhelming.
So great moments, definitely plentiful yesterday as several coaches were introduced. And I found
plentiful.
Yes, plentiful. I found this one profound as well, and in another type of way.
Profound. If I know where you're going, this is hilarious that you call him this profound.
Yeah, no, I don't think this is the one you're thinking of. But
maybe
this
not.
is, this is quite the enthusiasm from Mr. Aaron Glenn.
Right. Players that's here now, put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Listen, there are going to be some challenges. But with challenges gets opportunity. But here's what I do know. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit. Listen, I want this job.
I hope so.
I interviewed for a number of them. But I wanted this job.
Don't make fun of him.
We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Don't make fun of him, Pat.
Did you hear our friend Ben Maller said he was trying to channel Dan Campbell in his
Of course
comments.
he was. 1,000% was trying to chant. And
we're
good.
The freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
That's
right,
your
Aaron.
mentor. That's a guy that you just came up under, and you saw the success in Detroit, and you were a big part of that success. I mean, you see some of the stuff he did in the rooms with his players in Detroit. I mean, he means business.
Do we have his comments on Aaron Rodgers?
Not yet. I will grab those.
Because I thought those were funny as well.
You got to have.
Did you hear what he said about Aaron Rodgers? He's great.
You got to have this attitude if you're going to come into New York, all right? You got to be able to go into that, especially the Jets, where they just don't win. And you got to be able to own it. Even if Aaron Glenn doesn't believe it right now.
Own the suck.
You got to own the suck until it gets better, and you got to make those players believe that it's going to be better. I heard him talking to the defense, the Lions defense, and actually I think it was everybody. Everyone on that team was in that room. It was like early on in the season. And he's like, we're going to wake up. He was going around to some of the guys in the room. And he said, what was your record in college? How many games did you lose in college your senior year? Or whatever, your last year? One game. Went around the room, one game. You guys woke up every weekend and you knew you were going to win, right? Yeah. Well, that's what it's going to feel like here. That's what we're going to get to in the NFL, where you're going to wake up every Sunday and you're going to feel like we're going to win this game. And that's the attitude. And that's what sometimes, and everyone's different. That's kind of what I always have had my issue with Todd Bowles is you're never going to get that. Not everyone needs that. You're not going to get that. You think you're going to get that from Todd Bowles?
Behind closed doors? I don't
think behind closed doors
we hear from a lot of guys that he's pretty fiery behind closed doors.
We have heard he is different and fiery behind closed doors. You cannot look me in the eye, Pat Donovan, and tell me you're getting that out of Todd Bowles.
I mean, not the same energy, no.
Boom.
But again, you don't always have to have the same energy to get the same results.
As I've noted.
Because a lot of guys have done it
just
other
noted
ways.
it.
All right. Well, I'm just saying. So when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, what he said about Aaron Rodgers was hilarious. He basically was like, "Here, you got it?
Ready?
All right, yeah, let's hear what he said about Aaron Rodgers because it's hilarious.
Just a couple of things I want to nip in the bud before we get to the Q&A. Listen, I came on Wednesday. Well, I got the job on Wednesday. Mooch came and got the job on Saturday. And we came here on Sunday, and we started talking. Here's what I do know. Aaron Rodgers will be talked about. It will be talked about. We've already texted that communication with Aaron Rodgers. And as we continue to look at the roster, we'll make decisions accordingly. And that's what a number of people, right, on the team.
What's wrong with that?
I thought it was hilarious. That was hilarious. He's like, here's what I know about Aaron Rodgers. He'll be talked about. It's like, all right. Like, I just thought it was the way he put it was funny. Look at you. You're getting defensive. You're like I got Aaron Glenn's back.
Well, I don't know what I honestly thought when I'm comparing it to kind of situations like we just saw with Liam Cohen, and we talk about honesty and being upfront. And I don't think he was very evasive there.
He wasn't evasive at all. Yeah. It wasn't about him being evasive. I thought it was funny.
I think there were parts of it that were funny. But I think overall, like there was, I think the fieriness of Aaron Glenn is like that's what I want out of a coach.
Dude, I love the fieriness. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't criticizing his fire at all. Like that wasn't my point. But with the Aaron Rodgers, like he didn't have to bring it up at all. And it's just like he will be discussed. And it's like, so you really didn't tell us anything.
Was there a question leading up to it about Aaron Rodgers?
No, because you listen to the beginning of this again. Play the beginning of it real quick again.
But before we get to the Q&A.
Yeah, you're right.
I came on Wednesday.
I want to nip some things in the bud.
I got the job on Wednesday.
That's weird.
Yeah. Like you didn't have to bring it up at all.
Got the job on Saturday.
All right, that's enough. That's enough.
No, that's weird. The fact that it was like before we get to Q&A. I guess he's like, he said he's going to nip in the bud. Like he knew it was going to be asked. So he's saying, essentially, I'm going to stop you right here. This is me answering it.
Hey, I'm high on Aaron Glenn. You don't have to defend him.
I like him. I like him. I like Aaron Glenn.
You got in a stance like you're not going to talk crap about Aaron Glenn.
Not today, buddy. Not with that fire.
All right. Are the Jaguars
New York Jets? So
yeah. That's right, Aaron Glenn. I don't know what you're built for, but
that's what I'm talking about.
Disappointment.
What are you talking about?
Listen, he might be built for a lot of things. That team's got a long way to go.
For sure, but I like Aaron Glenn.
I like Aaron Glenn, too.
Leave him alone.
You defensive son of a bitch.
Leave him alone.
Sorry, Jeff.
You leave all the Glens alone. Rest in peace to Terry Glenn. You leave all the Glens alone.
Sorry, Jeff, not any of the Glens. Maybe Terry Glenn.
Rest in peace.
I feel bad that she passed away.
I can't believe Bill Parcells did that. I can't believe Parcells did that.
And anybody who doesn't know, yes, when asked about Terry Glenn's injury one time, Bill Parcells said something along the lines of like, she'll be fine.
I read an article recently that Robert Kraft brought Parcells in to just give it to him after because he was not happy with it. And he's like, we don't do that here. It's not the way we do things. Well, you got Bill Parcells.
You know what we do? We go get Tuggers, but we don't use that kind of language. All right, when we return.
Kraft and Jerry Jones.
Oh, man.
They might be meeting.
We didn't even get to his comments, did we? We got to get to Jerry Jones' comments soon as well. But on the other side, are the Jaguars about to go 0-17? That's coming up on the other side. And also, Rick Stroud. We're going to give some love to Rick Stroud because he did what I said I didn't think anybody was going to do.
Drove all the way there.
He drove all the way to Jacksonville to get comments.
Pat and Aaron Show on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Rick Stroud went all the way, drove 4 hours to get to Jacksonville. What a terror. You ever do that drive?
Yeah.
It sucks.
Especially if, you're just going for that.
I went back in the day when Waldo was famous for pulling over everyone.
Where's Waldo?
Yeah, it's on the way to Jacksonville, unfortunately. And they have one of those areas where it's like you go from 35 to 15 miles an hour in the blink of an eye. Like the speed limit just bounces all over the place just because they want to pull you over.
I've been there. My dad got a ticket in Waldo.
So it became a story where they actually got in trouble for screwing too many people. I got pulled over by the most sophisticated police vehicle I've ever been pulled over by in Waldo. And the guy's like, I got you on video. I told him I wanted to fight. He's like, yeah, go ahead. I got the whole thing on video. It was insane. I was like, this is crappy, and everything about Jacksonville is pretty crappy.
I mean, you just took down Waldo, and you're like, yeah, so Jacksonville sucks.
Well, listen, I've been to
you got to go through Waldo to get to Jacksonville, so screw Jacksonville.
I went to a Jags game one of the first years I lived here. I went to see the Giants and Jags on Monday Night Football. Awful. And then also I went up there for the NCAA tournament with my uncle and a couple of friends and stuff. And the tournament was fun, but the area, when you've got to walk around and do stuff in between, we went to go see Bold City Brewing Company, which is pretty cool. But other than that, Jacksonville sucks.
Just avoid Waldo, people.
Avoid Jacksonville, honestly. But Rick Stroud did not. Yes, thank you. He put in the work to go through Duval and into Jacksonville and try to talk to Liam Cohen on the side, which he did get to do. And there was some interesting comments for sure when it came to what happened and why it happened. And some of it, I think, may change the way you feel about how Liam left. Some of it won't. He certainly didn't communicate with everyone he should have, but apparently he did communicate with some people. Here's the line, again, from the Rick Stroud article in the Tampa Bay Times, TampaBay.com. And this is, apparently he reached out to Baker, who Baker was in the Bahamas with his offensive line. He took his I love Baker Mayfield, man. Took his offensive line to the Bahamas, and Liam told Rick Stroud, literally, I'm FaceTiming with Baker and the O-lineman in the Bahamas, and they're like, Liam, go get that. You go get that. Bucky Irving is telling me he loves me. I just texted with Mike Evans. He's at the Pro Bowl. Guess what? If my coaches and players, if they're good, I'm good. So I get that aspect of it. But then he goes on to acknowledge to Jason Light that, to Rick Stroud, that Jason Light is furious with him. And you said yesterday you thought it was Jason Light. I said, well, we're not sure. We don't know who it is. According to this article, it makes it pretty certain it's Jason Light that's pissed. And he said, and this is Liam Cohen, I want Jason to be good with it. I love Jason. Those guys gave me an op. I'll never forget that. But time heals. Time heals.
You can't.
We'll be all right.
You're not the one to say, when you are this person who made the mistake and you piss somebody off, you're not the person that's allowed to say time heals.
Hey, Aaron, I know I was a little critical of Aaron Glenn. We'll be all right.
Hey, sorry, dude. I know I stole your wife, but time.
This is a little different than stealing someone's wife.
Time will heal. Just let me make my comparison. Time will heal all wounds, and you will love me, and you will forgive your wife in the future. This guy. I mean, I would be pissed if I was Jason Light, because if you can go out of your way, according to Liam Cohen, to reach out to the O-line, to reach out to Baker, talk to your O-line, but for 26 hours you went dark on the Buccaneers and you said it was because you were with your sick kid, why wouldn't you just pick up the phone?
They actually said they were at the hospital.
Whatever you were doing. You couldn't just pick up the phone like a man.
What else are you doing at the hospital other than waiting?
You say honesty is your best policy. It seems like evasiveness is your best policy. And I don't know. It just doesn't sit well with me. I sports hate the guy. I don't hate the guy. I think it's fun now. He has become my enemy, and I like dancing on the graves of my enemy, sports hate, and I will make it a pleasureful a moment in the future when Jacksonville falls on their face. And I always I love things to root for. That's why sports are fun. You know what I also like? Things to root against. And Liam Cohen, just for the hell of it, I'm rooting against you.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, when I heard the Duval thing, I said, that's a guy that's going 0-17.
Duval.
Yeah.
People were like, why
between that and his face, I'm like, he's going 0-17. And then I saw it a couple times. I wasn't the only one who thought that.
Somebody on Twitter said to me, let it go, and I reposted that. I was like, well, hold on. No, I think this is funny. I'm not going to let it go. I want to make fun of him for the rest of the end of days. He's made himself a target, and you make yourself an easy target, makes my life more enjoyable. That's the kind of guy I am.
All right. When we return, are the Tampa Bay Lightning better than their record says they are, and better than, honestly,
On 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
All right, the other day we were talking about the Lightning, and I was saying, I don't know. I don't see a team, in my opinion, from what I've seen so far this season. I'm certainly not writing them off, but I said, from what I've seen so far this season, I'm not sold that this team is a Stanley Cup championship contender. Not that they won't make the playoffs, but I don't see a team that's going to win a cup or compete to be close to winning a cup.
And as I told you yesterday, I see this team as one that is growing throughout this season. I think the pieces, I think Julien BriseBois did a good job in a tough situation, filling that role of Stammer. And
I thought the move for Gensel was really smart.
Yeah, I think the depth, they're lacking depth on this team, top heavy.
Yeah.
But I think
most of the points coming from the top two lines.
But I think they're going to be okay.
So, speaking of Julien BriseBois, he spoke yesterday, does that right around the halfway point every season. And he spoke yesterday, had an OG goon, Jared Aaron, actually send me this because he was listening to our conversation the other day. I don't know if it was yesterday or not or whatever, but he was listening to our conversation and was like, hey, I heard you guys talking about this, and basically like shared this note with me from Julien BriseBois. And this is actually from Benjamin Pierce, Benjamin J. Report on X, works for the Bolts. And he noted that yesterday when Julien BriseBois spoke to the media, he opened with a note, and I've got that note and his comments about it. And listen, certainly eye-opening for a guy like me who hasn't necessarily been sold on what I've seen so far. According to Julien BriseBois, the team is number 1 in goals for, number 10 in goals against. Last season, they were 22nd in goals against. 5 versus 5 goals for percentage is 7th. Last season, they were 25th. The power play percentage, they are 4th. This is interesting as well. Their power play percentage is 4th, but the percentage is actually higher than last year when the team was first. So they were first in the league last year. Right now, they're 4th, but their percentage is better than it was a year ago. Penalty kill is 7th, best in the league since November 1st. So those are some really good numbers.
And a lot of them, when you look at the statistics, right, and that doesn't always tell the story, but
for sure,
they actually are comparable to the teams that won Stanley Cups, the 62-win team as well, which didn't win the Stanley Cup, but comparable with some of the better Lightning teams.
And that's the quote from Julien BriseBois. He said, those are pretty much all the major underlying statistical categories by which you're going to evaluate your hockey team. And we're top 10 in every single one of them. The last time we were top 10 in every single one of them was the 2018-2019 season, during which we won a record 62 games. The last time we were top 11 in every one of these categories was 21-22, which was the 3rd straight Stanley Cup Finals appearance. And I say 11th because we were top 10 in every category, but the penalty kill was 11th that year. You don't have these strong statistical numbers, underlying numbers, especially the goal differential, unless you're a very good hockey team made up of very good hockey players that are very well coached.
And as I mentioned yesterday as well, this recent stretch, I mean, they're tired. They're coming off, that 4-game stretch, 14 games over 24 days, 10 of them on the road. They look tired, and Julien BriseBois said that as well. He said the guys are gassed, and it's going to affect their execution, but it hasn't affected their effort. So that's all we ask for. They will get through the tough periods.
I'd like some execution as well.
Yeah, but you get 4.
Effort's not enough, young man.
4 back-to-backs. You're gassed. You're tired. Sometimes that happens throughout a long season, and not sometimes, all the time. So now we know you just got to be playing your best hockey, and really in any sport, you got to have your best output towards the end of the season, going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And one thing we do know from Julien BriseBois, whether you want to give him credit for it or you want to say he's too aggressive, one thing that is very different than him and Yzerman is BriseBois not scared to make the move. And when we talk about the trade deadline about a month away, and he said he's going to put the Lightning in the best position to make another deep playoff run. They're going to not limit themselves when they try to accomplish the goal of winning a Stanley Cup. And as scary as that might be, because you don't know who might leave, I do trust that Julien Brisebois believes and has conviction in what he thinks is the right move to propel this team forward in the right direction.
Well, I would hope so. I hope every general manager believes that they're making the right moves, unless they're just, gutting a team because they have to for financial reasons. But
I believe in him. I do. As tough as it was how he handled the Stammer situation, I believe in him.
Well, when it comes down to, you said you could say he's too aggressive, or you could believe he's too aggressive. I'll be honest with you. I think if you believe, listen, has every move he's made paid off? Absolutely not. Has every move he's made been the right move? Absolutely not. However, in my opinion, if you think Julien Brisebois is too aggressive, I think you're an idiot. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I don't want to say you're an idiot, but I think you're being pretty short-sighted about it if you think that Julien Brisebois is too aggressive. Because we've talked about this in the past. Some of those moves he made in years past are the reasons why they went on to win a Stanley Cup. And you can make the argument for everything that Yzerman did here, and he built a system that remains here to this day when it comes to the entire organization all doing the same thing, so guys are prepared when they get up here. Like, that's something that will be with this Lightning organization, I think, forever. So Yzerman made a mark here, and I don't want to pretend that he didn't. But you know what he never did? He never got this team over the hump. He never made the move, the aggressive move that got this team over the hump, and Julien Brisebois did.
Tanner Jeannot. That was a tough one.
Yeah, listen, there's been a couple of moves that you can look back at and not be sold on. But again, I'd rather a guy who makes moves and has, again, gotten the team over the top than a guy who's not willing to make those moves and hasn't.
Absolutely. He is aggressive, and sometimes those moves work, and they have helped them. But a move like Tanner Jeannot, when you give up a boatload of picks, when we know how much a guy like Yzerman before him, his predecessor, valued those picks, and I'm not saying that he doesn't value those picks, but those are deadly. Those could be deadly moves. He's smart enough, and he got this team back on track where it didn't kill him. But those are dangerous moves to make.
Yeah. Hey, listen, that's why I started the whole thing out saying every move he has made has not always been right? And I get it.
But then you make a Nick Paul move.
But at the same time, the moves I like are the ones that have ended up with the team lifting a cup, and Yzerman never made those moves ultimately at the end of the day, and Julien Brisebois has. All right, when we return, Stu Sternberg. He finally spoke about the Rays ballpark situation, and it's going to make you super psyched, or probably not at all. That's coming up on the other side. It's the Pat and Aaron Show, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. By the way, don't forget, hang out with us tomorrow. We're going to be at Mazda of Clearwater. We're there from 6 to 9. We'll probably hang out for a while after the show as well. We're going to have games. You're going to play Beat Casey on a couple of fun games with a chance to win some cool prizes. We'll have a food truck out there doing
20 WDAE St. Petersburg, an iHeart radio station.
Welcome back to the Pat and Aaron Show, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. We got a lot of news to get to today, and really, we've got a lot of anger, Pat, dividing us on the show this morning. We're trying to figure out...
We're divided?
Well, we're not divided, but we're just, there's people that we're taking aim at because it's... Liam Cohen, I thought, was just going to be public enemy number one for a while here. But Stu Sternberg keeps saying, hold my beer, because I can one-up you a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, both of them, Liam was very quick. We never really heard anything bad about Liam. And then it was a very quick moment of deceit, and the deceit went public. He's no longer with the organization anymore, and we're angry. It's sports hate, but it was quick. He's gone. Now he's on to the next thing. He's in Jacksonville. Boom. We're done with Liam Cohen. We will move on from
Boom.
That. We can't move on from Stu Sternberg. And
well, not yet anyways.
Stu is more, Stu hasn't told any lies as far as I'm concerned because Stu doesn't really talk that much. Brian Auld has really been the guy who's been out there speaking, being his mouthpiece.
I wouldn't say that he's lied, but I would say that he was evasive as hell yesterday.
That's the word I was going to use, is evasive. Evasive is what he was being, and those are the similarities. And Stu is playing the role of politician here when it comes to the Rays and their stadium. They face a March deadline, the Rays do, when it comes to deciding the fate of the $1.3 billion stadium. By the way, Colleen Wright will join us a little later on in the show, starting the 8 o'clock hour, about a little less than an hour away from that.
It's funny because you use the word politician, but we're talking about a story in which Stu Sternberg was in the room with politicians, in the room with mayors, and he's the one who came across sounding like a politician.
Now, he said yesterday they're still deciding what to do. Now, they need to show, the Rays do, by March 31st, their checklist, that they've met the checklist of obligations.
They'll do that.
When that happens, that would unlock the public funding for the project. You say they'll do it, I say they won't.
Oh, yeah. Listen, Sternberg said they're going to do it, Aaron. He said they've got a decision to make, which I don't know what the hell that decision is other than get it done. But he also said they'll meet their deadlines to do whatever needs to be done, which sounds like he doesn't actually know what that might be.
Everything needs to be done. It's there right now. The city, they're offering you, St. Pete, Pinellas County, you're getting $600 million. There was a 1-month delay in the vote. Whether you want to say it was Hurricane Milton, whether you want to say it was the county commissioners or Hurricane Helene, you want to say it was the county commissioners not doing their job, whatever it was, the bonds have gone through now. But
the Rays have their side. They have things they have to accomplish. So, that stuff's not done.
And if you can't...
And if it is, they're idiots for not telling us it's done.
And if you can't accomplish that checklist, and if it has to do directly with lack of funding on your own side, you don't have enough cash, you don't have enough cash flow to be able to make this happen, then no shame, no harm, no foul.
I would disagree with that.
Sell the team. What do you mean?
What have we been doing all this time?
Well, fine.
There's plenty of shame to go around. If you are ready to make Pinellas and St. Pete come to the table with all the money and all of the things they need to do, if you're going to bitch and moan about a delay and you're not ready, oh, yeah, there's plenty of shame to go around, buddy.
I won't do it. If he moves and says, I'm going to sell this team.
Well, that's not what you said. You said no shame if they don't have if they're not ready.
No. If you, and no shame meaning no. Then you didn't let me finish my statement. Then no shame meaning sell the team. Sell the team. Give it to somebody who can take care of this and actually pay the funding of the stadium, which is $700 million. You're getting $600 million. Of course, there's going to be shame if you can't meet that deadline.
Yeah,
but that's not the point I'm trying to make. And that's why you got to let me finish my point sometimes, is the shame would no harm. Listen, no harm, no foul, no shame. If you need to sell the team, you have a lot of money. You've made a lot of money. You're clearly a smart guy. You're a rich man. You're going to be even richer when you sell this team. There's no shame in not owning a sports franchise. I know he's always wanted to be a Major League Baseball owner. You've done it. You've accomplished it. You've done a really good job for what you've had and what you've spent. But at some point, it's not enough. And I think you do have to really be open to, and I think that's happening right now behind the scenes, of selling the team.
I still think there's plenty of shame to go around if he does, because if it's because he's not ready, why do we get here if you're not ready?
I don't know.
You needed to be ready for that.
I'm willing to forgive that.
Well, sure. So am I. If it happens and it happens in a timely manner, and we're what are we, like 2 months from the deadline? Not even 2 months from the deadline, and he's saying, "Oh, we've got a decision to make." And I'll tell you what, our guy John Romano makes a really good argument. Speaking of the Tampa Bay Times, he has an article out today about why he doesn't think Stu's going to sell the team anytime soon. And who knows whether he's going to or not. I personally believe when he won't comment on it, it's because he probably is working on a sale of the team. But to allow this to get this far and be completely unprepared, at least publicly, plenty of shame, whether you sell the team or not.
I think you have to look at Stu, and you're right. I mean, previous mayors have said they're going to get this done. They haven't been able to do it. Mayor Kreisman wasn't able to do it, and it was something he was very adamant he was going to do. And I think we have to start looking at the reasons for why it's not getting done. I think these mayors, clearly they wanted the Rays Stadium, the redevelopment of that gas plant district, the historic district, as part of their legacy. And if they couldn't get it done, you have to start thinking maybe it's not them. Maybe it's Stu Sternberg and the Rays that are the real problem here when it comes to getting it done. They're offering you $600 million. They've passed it. You've complained.
Which, to be fair, has never really happened before.
Now, you said to be fair, they still have some things they have to accomplish to reach that checklist.
The Rays do.
Yeah. So if that's the case, Pat, why were you bitching? Why are the Rays bitching about the delayed vote if you don't have everything in order anyway? If you're going to complain about overrun costs, if you're going to complain about the delay costing you more money, you better be ready to go right when it passes.
The second it passes.
And we've seen more than a month go by and nothing has been done. So that tells me it was all smoke and mirrors. There was nothing actually set in place for the Rays to get going. And they're crying about, this. They're upset about how it's going to cost them more money. And they can't even tell us how much more money, why it's going to cost more money, lay out the list of what exactly is missing here in these 30-plus days of what they're losing out on. None of that. There's no transparency here. So there's hard for me to come up with any other solution than, hey, really appreciate what you've done for the area, but let's sell the team now.
Yeah, it's really, at this point, it seems like the only answer. And I don't necessarily think it's the only answer. If you could get the money together and be ready to do your job, then that's fine. But we've seen no evidence of that, to your point. And listen, every offseason, it seems like we have a sit down with the Rays and their front office people, and they tell us things on and off the record. Hasn't happened yet this offseason. Don't know if it's going to, but I sure wish it would, because it would be nice to have some clarity on a lot of things that are really foggy right now. And as Mayor Welch said yesterday, and I've almost never been on the side of the politicians and the city and the county, but at this point, I don't know how you couldn't be. As he said yesterday, this is the quote from Mayor Welch: "All we need is for our closer to close the game. That closer is the Rays. We're this close, I wouldn't do anything differently." And that's talking about approving the funds, all the way back to the here to stay press conference. According to him, he wouldn't have changed anything because they've done their part. They've done their side. They're just waiting for, quote unquote, the closer to close the game, and the closer is the Rays.
Love the baseball analogy.
Yeah.
Good job, Mayor Welch.
Yeah.
Way to speak baseball to us. But, Welch, I found this part interesting as well. I want to ask Colleen Wright about this at 8 o'clock. Mayor Welch said that the Rays and the city have reached another issue that they need to work through. But then he said to ask Sternberg what the specific issue is. So he's essentially being like, it's not our issue. That's what I'm hearing there. It's not our issue.
It's not.
The Rays have an issue with something here. There's another issue, but you have to ask Stu Sternberg what that specifically is.
I don't necessarily doubt them that if they have to push the stadium back a year, that it will cost them more money. I also don't care. There's a lot of things that are costing St. Petersburg and Pinellas a lot of money because they were absolutely whacked by 2 hurricanes. And for the Rays or any organization that's already getting a ton of public funding to say, oh, well, now we need more because it's going to take a little longer. No. No, shame on you for that. You cover that.
Yeah, there needs to be some more transparency here. I'm totally with you. They should be the ones that have to cover for that. That's on them. And it's not even going to be that much considering they're getting, like you said, $600 million in funding. So suck it up, move on, be done with it, and let's move forward here. But I don't think it's going to be that easy. But I want to know, and I want to know if Colleen, if they followed up on, and it's not in her article, so I'm guessing we don't know, but I want to ask Stu Sternberg. I want to find out what that specific issue is. What else is it? And if you're Mayor Welch.
They're clearly not going to tell us.
But if you're Ken Welch, if you're Mayor Welch, you're willing to tell us. It's like I go back to you and make fun of you for when sometimes we'll come back from a commercial break and you'll be laughing. And the first thing the audience will hear is you like, haha, if you could only hear what we were talking about during the break. And I always get mad at you because I go, no, they can't. And now we're keeping them out of the conversation. They feel like they're out of the club. For this one, Mayor Welch is like, I know something. I know what the issue is, but you're going to ask somebody else about it. I don't like that either.
I'm not sure he is certain.
If he says the city and the Rays have reached another issue that we need to work through, but ask Sternberg what that specific issue is, I think he knows what the issue is.
All right.
I'd have to assume he knows what the issue is.
Maybe he just thinks it's the Rays issue. Like as far as them saying they need the extra money because of the time. Maybe he doesn't know exactly what that issue is. He just knows that there's an issue there.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll talk with Colleen Wright. Very much looking forward to that conversation with Colleen Wright coming up at 8 o'clock. When we come back, though, public enemy number one, Liam Cohen. He's not the only new coach in the NFL, though. We've yet to get to a couple of the changes, the new hires around the league. We'll talk about it and who got it right and who blew it again. That's coming up next on the Pat and Aaron Show. But before that,
this whole Rays situation, this whole stadium situation, it really just kind of makes me want to drink.
Okay.
Makes me want to pick up the El Bandito Yankee Tequila, maybe take a quick shot, maybe, I don't know, make a margarita too, whatever it is. Something to get a nice buzz to distract me from everything going on with the Rays stadium situation. And when I do that, again, I always go for the El Bandito Yankee Tequila. If you haven't had it yet, you should. It is so smooth. It is criminal. You can
95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
New Orleans, the Saints still looking for a new head coach, but the rest of the league taking shape and those vacancies being filled. We'll get to some of those in just a second. I want to remind everyone the new and improved iHeartRadio app is finally here. They got these new presets feature.
So
it's just like in
awesome.
your car, so you can save your favorite station, us, WDAE, AM 620, to your custom presets. Presets, they're the most convenient way to find us anytime, anywhere, so feel free to put us there and make sure that you're ready to listen to us whenever you jump into the car, wherever you go.
Don't just feel free, do it, damn it.
Speaking of free, the iHeartRadio app is free.
That's right.
So we've got Mike Vrabel, the new head coach in New England, Ben Johnson in Chicago.
The Vrabel one was the most obvious. Like, if we had to make bets before the offseason, like, once we knew Mayo was gone, that was the guy.
Liam Cohen, we know, is in Jacksonville. Aaron Glenn has been introduced in New York. I think we haven't.
Don't say negative things about him around Aaron, or even close to it.
The guy's
he's ready.
I like his attitude. We didn't get to this yesterday, but over the weekend, the surprising move the Raiders made, in my mind, the surprising move of bringing in Pete Carroll as their head coach.
I was surprised. You, I think, had left or were somewhere else in the building or whatever. But when I found out, I opened up the door. Nick Wise sits right outside of our studio, and I was like, I looked at him. I was like, Pete Carroll, and he was like, what about him? And I was like, Vegas, and he was like, really? Like, I was surprised by that move as well.
That's right. I think it was on Friday. I was in the studio with the Joe Show.
That's right.
It was after our show, and somebody said, "Yeah, the Raiders are going with Pete Carroll." And I said, "Guys, I love Pete Carroll, but I don't know if he's ready to start something at his age. I don't know how much longer how much left in the tank he has."
I think Pete Carroll has plenty of energy.
Oh, the energy, yes. But at some
he
point,
connects with young players. I think it's going to work.
We'll see.
I mean, I'm not saying they're going to be great next season, but I think he's a guy that works.
The one that I think we're all waiting to see if it will work, and it's always a question mark in this city, is Brian Schottenheimer in Dallas.
It's the weirdest hire and the funniest hire. And Jerry Jones, we've got that, right? Jerry Jones' comment on, I don't even exactly know what he was talking about, but he was being asked questions about this hire, and here's what he had to say.
There's a very low percentage of this that is smiles and glory holes.
Is what?
I don't think he knows what that is.
Is there another, like, I think a lot of people know that phrase or word for things we can't talk about on the radio. Is there a family? Is there a family-friendly glory hole that I don't know about? Is there something that's okay?
Not aware, but I think him and Robert Kraft are running in the same circles.
Oh, no doubt about it.
You know,
we know those guys are friends.
Maybe they've met without knowing that they've met, if you know what I mean. Maybe the next time Robert Kraft goes to shake Jerry Jones's hand, he looks down and he goes, "Whoa, that's familiar. I know what that hand looks like."
That's very weird. All right. Here, I saw this tweet on X or this whatever post. I thought it was very, very fitting for the move to Brian Schottenheimer in Dallas. Hiring Brian Schottenheimer as head coach without even trying to talk to Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, or other top candidates is 1,000% the same thing as not calling Derrick Henry and just signing Zeke. It really does feel like the exact same thing.
It feels like Jerry Jones is feeling the heat over this hire already and is already sounding defensive. If you listen to what he said yesterday, he said, "I've been getting my proverbial ass kicked over needing people in my comfort zone. If you don't think I can operate out of my comfort zone, you're so wrong."
You should see me at the glory hole.
You're so wrong. It's unbelievable. This was a thorough process. He double thorough'd it. So
wow.
He said it might be couched as a less than glamorous hire. What I would say to you is I got here taking shots. Good things have happened. There's something to be had where not many people go. It sounds like he is very defensive over this Brian Schottenheimer hire.
Of course he is. On the Bartow 4 DA text line, "Oh no, Dirty Jerry definitely knows what that is And that's disgusting and hilarious that he said that. Let's play it again. Here's what Jerry Jones said as part of his defensiveness about his new hire of Brian Schottenheimer.
There's a very low percentage of this that is smiles and glory holes.
Oh, man. Somebody tell
Smiles
him.
And glory holes.
Is anybody going to tell him? You think somebody told him afterwards?
I think somebody probably was like, Jerry, man, listen.
You can't say I'm on the air.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.
Jerry can say whatever he wants, apparently. He said, quote, I've read where I don't have a penchant for risk-taking. If you really knew my score sheet, you knew that I've taken more risks in my last 5 years than my whole life put together. He is, we're talking about a head coach. He is very, very dramatic and defensive over his new hire in Brian Schottenheimer.
I want to know what the last 5 years have been about because I feel like that comment had nothing to do with football. I feel like he's been taking a lot of. I feel like Jerry Jones, because we've talked before about the photo of him with the young lady pressed against his crotch for whatever reason, her face, by the way, for those of you wondering, and how he's never really caught any flack for that. And I feel like he is at an age now, Jerry Jones, where he's like, it's the worst that's going to happen. I'm almost 100 years old. Like, I'm not going to go to prison because I'm Jerry Jones. I think he's just letting it all fly out.
He also has, in the last couple, maybe he's talking about, doesn't he have a biological daughter we've talked about that he was like keeping hush-hush? And he had paid money to keep hush-hush, and then
I don't
it
know
wasn't
anything
so
about
hush-hush.
that, actually, yeah. I got a small payment. I'm kidding.
Oh, that's like, what? That's weird.
Do you think if Jerry Jones could, he'd slide small payments to sports talk radio guys across the country to not talk about his illegitimate daughter?
Hush money? I don't know. But Mike McCarthy is still out there. Maybe the Saints take a run on McCarthy.
He's the betting favorite, according to our friend Jimmy Shapiro, who sends us odds on these sort of things. What like you said, was it you or Casey earlier that was saying like, oh, they're just waiting for the Super Bowl? They want the Super Bowl hype machine there when they name their new head coach. Like, that to me is so funny. Like, the idea of them waiting for the Super Bowl week to be like, hey guys, Mike McCarthy.
And it might just be their top of their list is a guy like Kellen Moore, who will be, his offense will be in the Super Bowl in
by the way,
weeks.
they could, like we talked about, and it ended up being the case with Ben Johnson. It could be a done deal already where they're just waiting for that to be over to announce it.
That's
exactly
that's a good
right.
Point. All right, so we'll continue to explore that on the other side. Speaking of the Eagles, you might hate the Eagles, but there's another reason for Bucs fans to be rooting for Kansas City in the Super Bowl if you didn't have enough already. We'll get to that on the other side. But imagine this, an entire year with no payments on your mortgage, your rent, or your car loan.
That would be pretty awesome.
It would be. And guess what? It could be a reality for you with Suncoast Credit Union's no payments giveaway. Simply become a member of Suncoast. You'll automatically be entered to win.
And let's be honest, becoming a member of Suncoast, it's like you're winning already. You're already going to get lower rates on loans, free ATMs at Publix and Wawa, and all the new member perks like BOGO tickets at Mosey.
So dream bigger and visit suncoast.com/no payments to learn more.
No purchase necessary. Starts 1/20/25 and 6/30/2025. To open.
The Pat and Aaron Show on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Tomorrow, make sure to join Pat and myself for the show, 6 to 9 a.m. Mazda of Clearwater.
It's going to be awesome.
We're going to be out there hanging out, giving out some T-shirts, your chance to win some prizes. And, of course, you can
free meat. You can win free meat.
We can win free meat. There's going to be food there you can buy, food truck. And then we can, and you can look at all the beautiful cars there because Pat and I are both driving in a Mazda. I got my beautiful new Mazda 3, so we'll be out there tomorrow.
Maybe I'll trade up tomorrow.
Yeah?
No. Heidi will kill me.
6 to 9 a.m. Come hang out with us tomorrow. So most of you listening right now, you're like us. You just hate the Eagles. You're rooting for the Chiefs because you hate the Eagles. But there are some of you out there right now that, I don't like the Eagles, but I don't hate them. You might like Jalen Hurts. You might love Saquon Barkley.
If they're a Bucs fan, I think they hate the Eagles.
There might be specific players on that team that they like.
Oh, I think at this point, because of the movement, right, there's always a couple players. You can't name a team where there's not somebody I like.
Also, recency, Bucs have beat the Eagles.
Yeah.
Knocked them out of the playoffs last year.
People will never forget Bert Emanuel.
Beat them in the regular season this year.
And even when you beat them, they're such a-holes.
And even when they beat you, they're a-holes. I don't know if you saw some of the fans leaving that were Washington fans leaving the link. They were just being harassed.
I saw one guy got his hat stolen.
Yeah, thievery. Stole his hat. Theft.
Those people are a-holes, man.
A-holes.
What makes you want to act that way? I don't get it.
Especially when you won. I mean, even if you lost, why would you want to act that way? But when you won, just hold your head up high, be psyched, have a beer, do whatever you do to celebrate. But no, not Eagles fans. And if that wasn't enough, if you don't hate Philly, fine. But
who doesn't hate Philly? But
we can give you another reason here to root for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I know a lot of you anyway are just sick of seeing the Chiefs and Mahomes win. But if you think about it this way, there's only one team that Mahomes couldn't get past in the Super Bowl. There's only one team that Mahomes wasn't up for the task. It's your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's Tom Brady and your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that
dominant fashion, by the way.
That
right?
defense, that game, I was with you that day, Pat, at your place. And
I will never forget the moment you looked at me and you were like, biggest grin on your face. You go, Bucs are going to win this game, aren't they?
And that was early.
Yeah.
It wasn't even,
early.
I mean, at the end of that half, what they were able to do to be able to, they dominated that football game. And so don't you want to be, let's say Patrick Mahomes goes on to win 4 more. There's one blemish. And if you look at Tom Brady.
4 more. Oh, God.
Let's say he wins 4 more. And there's one blemish. And it's the Buccaneers. I mean, look at Tom. Look at the way Tom speaks. A lot of times, Tom, most confident guy in the world.
Yeah.
We heard what he just said about Nick Foles on the broadcast.
That was funny.
Anytime he's with Eli Manning or talking to Eli Manning, there's always a needle.
Oh, yeah.
There's always a little needle.
I love every second of it.
Eli loves it. Brady knows it. Belichick knows it. There's just a couple people in a crazy career that these guys had in winning. Couple people that stood in the way. And if Patrick Mahomes continues on this trajectory, there might be only one thing that stood in his way in his entire career, maybe the greatest when it's all said and done, the greatest career of all time. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, and an unbelievable performance that day. Should I send the story of the curse of the unpaid spotter to Eli Manning? Do you think he would take advantage? He might take advantage of that. By the way, I want to say thank you to Michael Pittman. Not directly, he didn't do anything for me, but I think he did something for all of us who are normal football fans. So part of the reason why people hate the Chiefs, Aaron, right, is the fact that they seem to get calls and people are like, oh, it's I've seen so many stupid posts been tagged in them about the game being rigged and the officials helping the Chiefs.
Silly. It's a lazy take is what it is.
But it's so common right now, and it just annoys the hell out of me. Here's Michael Pittman yesterday on Facebook. The NFL is not fixed or scripted. In my 11 years in the NFL, Michael Jr.'s 5, the commissioner or the opposing team has never sent us a script to follow. It just sounds silly to even think we as professional athletes would just allow another team to win. Ask any former or current NFL player, and they will tell you the same.
I don't think.
Thank you, Michael.
I don't think anyone with a true brain believes, if they're a football fan and they have a brain and they've been watching the game, not even their entire life, just long enough to be a fan, it's not scripted. It's a silly.
I don't know why I see it so much.
If somebody actually believes that, and it's hard for me to think you actually believe that. I can't argue with you there because it's impossible.
Impossible.
If you want to make an argument that you think there's a ref or two acting on their own that got caught up with the wrong people and they're doing a little thing here or there to sway the game, you're not crazy. You are not a crazy person.
We've seen it.
Yes. We saw it in basketball. We've seen it all around. It happens. They try to stop it.
We don't know that we've seen it in football. There's no evidence of it.
It's not bulletproof. It's hard to find. It's more easier these days to snuff out. But I wouldn't say you're crazy to think that's a possibility. But to think that this is a coordinated effort, a conspiracy in the league to script games and make it out to get the outcome that you desire, you've never played an organized sport before.
And by the way, some people believe that it's not the athletes and it's just the officials. But even that, you'd have to be a complete moron. How many officials are in the NFL? You'd have to get every single one of the officials to be on board and nobody to leak something about how it's all fixed.
Name me a sport.
It's so dumb.
And that's the referees impacting it. But specifically on script, right? As if the players get the script. Name me any sport. One sport where it could actually be fixed. Truly be fixed.
There isn't one.
There's not one.
Beyond that, think about trying to play a sport on script. Like, have you ever seen a movie, anything about like people creating a movie? They shoot these tiny little scenes and they put them all together. Why? Because a person can't remember an entire movie in their head. They can't remember an entire script in their head. These players, these coaches, these officials, everyone involved would have to know an entire script in their head for the entire game every week. Like, every single part of it is just the dumb. Even if it was just the officials, it's just the dumbest take, and it's so prevalent right now, it drives me bonkers.
Now, do I think that the best quarterbacks in the league get a little preferential treatment? Maybe don't get it. Maybe get more calls awarded in their favor. Sure,
that's across the board in sports.
It is. And you know what? The league's gonna have to do something, and they're gonna look at it in the offseason. I see on the text line somebody said that anytime, not saying it's scripted, but the refs are helping the Chiefs. They call them the cheats. Listen, even if you think that, they're going to go back this year and they're going to review and hopefully replay assist will be able to change in the future, where if a quarterback gets down and it's not supposed to be called a late hit, they'll take it off the board. Yeah, there needs to be some improvement. But
they said they're going to probably bring that in, like you said.
Yeah, like I said, they're going to talk about it in the offseason. But to act like this is a conspiracy is crazy talk.
It's so dumb.
To act like the players can actually go with the script is even more insanity. I mean, think about it. Let's say that the script was for the Ravens to beat the Bills. And then all of a sudden, because of the weather, Lamar Jackson, by mistake, goes against the script and fumbles the football on the snap with nobody touching him. What, are they going to be mad at him in the locker room? Like, you ruined the script. You went off script, you a-hole. No, it's not how
And
this
again,
works.
even if it's just down to them saying the officials are helping the Chiefs, it's dumb.
There might
Just
be
dumb.
one or two that are getting paid on the side. Probably not. But, like, it wouldn't be crazy. A mobster, who knows, to fix the games. Like, you never know. People that are behind the scenes trying to help them out so they can put $100,000 or whatever, a lot of money on a game, and they get it in their favor. It's been done before. Tim Donaghy, who I believe lives in Sarasota right now. Hopefully you're listening, Tim. Shout out to Tim.
Shout out to Tim.
Shout out to the fixer.
Oh, Jesus.
Shout out to the great fixer. But yeah, that wouldn't be crazy. But the thing is not scripted. Situation Men is scripted. Well, at least Casey Warner's portion of it. That's coming up on the other side. But before that, remember, listen, even though hurricane season's behind us now, it won't be long before it's upon us again. Make sure you're ready. Install the highest quality impact windows in Florida, and they've been doing it for over 50 years. And I'm talking about Reefs Windows and Doors, where most windows are installed in just 6 to 8 weeks. Financing options available, including 0% up to on a rampage. It's horrible.
And it started with a confrontation with one guy, and then he went on to run over several more people. I will just say that for me, I'm very, very glad that they were unable to apprehend this man alive and that they shot him to death, because that's what needs to happen to people like that. So I'm glad he's dead.
Situation, man. The real situation, man.
All right, the real one. So over the last couple days, I've realized that somehow I was given a fake key card to get into the building. I've never had a real one. I've been here at iHeart over a year now, about a year and 3-4 months counting the promotion days, and I don't know how, but I was given a fake key card. It does not work. So with that being said, I've been unable to get into the building the past couple days. The handicap button does not work. So it makes me think, if you were unable to get someone to come let you in the building, like the other day, nobody would answer my phone calls. I was stuck outside. Luckily, someone saved me coming in the building. And it's showtime.
To be fair, you didn't call us. You just texted.
No, he called me 4 times.
You didn't call me.
I didn't know you were here. I didn't see your car.
Oh, yeah, I was here.
Okay, so if that is not possible, if you can't get in the building and it's showtime, what are you doing to get in? How are you going to get in the building?
So today I had a similar issue. I don't have my key, so I waited in the car until I saw somebody else. I wait because it wasn't as cold as it has been, but I was like, I'm going to comfortably sit in my car. I know someone. We have a million morning shows going on here. I know someone was going to go and open the door at some point. And today I happened to find Brody, the great Brody from Mix and 100.7, and he let me in.
But if you're the last one, there's nobody.
Well, you got to start calling people.
You just call
the hotlines.
Yeah, I would call 1,000 times. I would have called me. I would have called Pat.
Honestly, what I was thinking of is, you know how like the door gives a little bit, but it doesn't open? If it's like...
You're going to try to rip it open?
I would either do that or I would try to squeeze between it because, I'm kind of skinny.
Yeah.
So...
It does not open enough for you to squeeze in.
I mean...
It won't. You'll break it. But I'm glad it didn't come to that.
Yeah.
Or not. That would have been a funny video.
Pat?
Watching security of Casey ripping the door open.
Pat, what would you do?
I'd start calling the hotline, or I'd call people in here until somebody picked up.
Pat would have an easy time because I would answer. He doesn't answer his calls because he doesn't see them. It's on silent.
It is.
I've slowly but surely figured that out. All right, one more here. Let's get it in before the break. A Duke basketball player vomited on the court mid-possession last night. Duke had the basketball. He's posting up down in the paint. Vomits all over the paint. If you're in that situation, where are you turning?
I think I'm doing... Pat, did you see the video?
I did not.
I think I'm doing what he did because he's a big man. He's down in the paint. He's the last guy. He's right by the baseline. No players around him. But I think he did a good job. You could see he's feeling uncomfortable. You could see it brewing, and he's trying to hold it. And then I'm sure everyone's been through this, where you're finally realize you can't hold it, and you put your hand to your mouth.
Don't do that.
And some of it starts to seep out of your fingers.
It's the dumbest idea.
And then he realized, he's like, nope, not holding this one in. And what he did was he went to the baseline as close to out of bounds that he could and started projectiling. I mean, a lot. But like not far enough on the baseline. You know how there's always like press and people sitting right up there, right under the hoop. He didn't get... They might have got a little splash, but
that's enough, though.
He was very... I would have done it this way. For situation men, I would have hoped to do it because there's no bucket around you. You're not running off the court.
Are you sure? Is there not the mop guy right there?
I would have ran off the court or like threw up on one of the camera people.
You're not a gamer. You're not a gamer then.
I would have.
And he honestly was trying to the last second to hold it in. At that point, there was nowhere else to run or to hide. It was coming out. Now, did you guys see the other part of this story about one of the fans in the stands?
They threw up?
No, worse. They passed out. A fan passed out, was so, I guess, disgusted with everything that they saw people, the security and assistants and attendants helping somebody out to get out of there because they passed out. They were getting carried out of the stadium.
That's
the arena.
crazy.
Yeah. I wonder if they passed out from something else or they just saw a guy throwing up and they're like, I can't work with that. I can't handle people throwing up.
By the way, we're both looking stupid right now because we said that the official, according to Tim on X, because we said that the officials aren't helping the Chiefs win. So people believe it, dude. People believe it.
What is the purpose of
We're
it?
stupid right now. Me and you are stupid.
What is fine, call in 888-546-4620 in a little bit. We got Calling Right coming up on the other side. I want you to actually tell me why. Because how you can actually believe that's crazy. What you need to believe.
We get Calling Right, and then also we've got our guy Dave Randorf as well.
Yes. All right. So after that, what you need to believe, though, is in the Wanna Parlay app. Pat won a little money the other day. It's this new platform we found out about, and there's some big payouts, some of the largest payouts around. It's called Wanna Parlay, WANNA. We downloaded the app. Pat already won. It's a lot of fun. There's a chat feature as well, so a little trash talk. You can see the leaderboard, so you can see where you're stacking up, how close you are in your parlay to winning some big money. So download that Wanna Parlay app.
You got to download it today, and you're going to have a chance if you use the code GOONS to win prizes that nobody else can win. That's right. There are going to be contests just for our goons. So download that free Wanna Parlay app. Get involved. Look around. Learn how to play. You're going to have a chance to win a lot of money. And again, when you use the promo code GOONS, not only are they going to match 100% of your deposit up to $250, you're going to have an opportunity to win prizes exclusively for our goons. So download the Wanna Parlay app today. Use the promo code GOONS. You got to be 18 or older to play. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER today.
Stu Sternberg, very evasive when it came to the topic of him selling.
Hour number 3 of the Pat and Aaron Show, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Another very good article in the Tampa Bay Times. You can find it at tampabay.com. If you want to jump aboard it later in the show, we will have time for you. But again, we've got Dave Randorf coming up in just a little bit. But right now, from the Tampa Bay Times, Colleen Wright, we mentioned unbelievable article, tampabay.com, Tampa Bay Times, about everything going on yesterday. And again, I didn't know about the state of the Bay, but Colleen Wright knew, and she wrote all about it and Stu Sternberg's comments at it. And Colleen, we're back again. We're back to talking to the stadium again. First of all, good morning. Thank you for being with us. How are you?
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me back on.
So Aaron and I, when talking about your article and Stu Sternberg's comments, which are within your article, we both came up with the same word to describe how we felt about Stu Sternberg and his comments yesterday at the State of the Bay event at the Vinoy Golf Club. How would you describe his comments yesterday?
I would probably just say guarded, kind of like holding the cards close to the vest. He was very much, I try to get him like, so there is a deal, so there's not a deal. And he would just say, we have to make a decision, and we'll make a decision. And he said probably before the March 31st deadline.
Probably.
At that deadline is when, there's kind of like a list of conditions that they have to meet and show that they can afford this deal, that they've, already kind of been progressing in the deal. And he says actually, that'll kind of be decided before then. And I tried to pin him down on next month in February, early March. And he just said, well, before that time. So I would probably just say close to the vest.
The Rays position has been that because of the county's delayed votes, which, by the way, they've already voted in favor, and that has changed already. But because of that 30-plus days, the Rays said the increased costs changed the position. We still, though, haven't seen anything, unless you tell me I'm wrong here, that shows what the delay, the increased costs actually were, and actual, in terms of dollars, what they have to make up for in that time lost.
No, we have not seen any evidence of that. Even Mayor Ken Welch, who was at the State of the Bay, he was one of the featured speakers at this event. I spoke to him before, and he also told me I still have not seen anything that itemizes like what they would need in terms of dollars. There's no public ask. I also asked Stu directly, how much money do you need? And he said, I can't say. And I think it's not just like, what they say is the delay of the bonds, but also I think just the cost of not playing in Tropicana Field. Of course, Tropicana Field had the roof blown off, and they're playing at Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, and that comes with increased cost. And the Rays position is kind of like, it's just too many things, and it was already hard to kind of cobble this deal together. However, the deal that they agreed to, the deal that was all kind of signed into place in July when it was all celebrated last summer, has the Rays on the hook for all cost overruns. So that's kind of part of the deal. Where that factors in, I don't know. But by March 31st, the Rays and Stu have to make a decision one way or another, or else they'll go into default.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier, if there's one thing that really stuck out in your article, I mean, there's a lot, honestly, in your article, but one thing that really stuck out a lot to me is this line right here. Sternberg declined to discuss whether he is considering a sale of the team's majority stake. Now, over the years, we've always had him, for the most part, talk about he's going to be here a long time. He wants to try to keep the Rays here a long time, but as long as they are, he feels like he was going to be a major part of that. I found it interesting that and maybe it's just because he didn't want to discuss much yesterday, but the fact that he declined to discuss whether he is considering a sale of the team's majority stake, does that lead you to believe that he may be considering it, or even potentially behind closed doors already working on a sale of the team?
That would be just speculation on my part. Perhaps or maybe not. He declined to talk about it, kind of joked about it with me. But he, Mayor Ken Welch also in the story kind of alludes to like there's this other specific issue, and then he goes on is like, and about the he talks about the money issue, right? That we just spoke about it, right? The cost overruns and how they can't afford to open, a year later in 2029 than planned. A year later than planned. Is there like this other looming issue? And I was like, well, Mayor, what's the specific issue? Because he kind of alluded to it I believe twice in our conversation. And he was like, well, you'll have to ask Stu for the specifics.
So,
and of course, Stu wouldn't say. So
you did ask, I was going to say, you did follow up with Stu on that? Because, Colin, we were talking about, and of course, promoting you coming up today. That to me, Pat just said what point stuck out to him. That part of it stuck out to me of what's that other issue? Because if Mayor Welch is willing to say there's another issue, but won't tell us what the issue is, he's saying, you asked Stu Sternberg what that is. That's a little odd to me.
Yeah, well, and I spoke with Stu before speaking to Mayor Welch. And then after the event, I tried going back to Stu and tried to talk to him about the sale of the team. And, he wasn't having it. So that's kind of like the order of events. I spoke with Stu first, and then I spoke with Mayor Welch after. And, another thing that Mayor Welch said was, we need, our community needs certainty. And I hope to kind of like paint a clear picture at his State of the City address on Tuesday, because it's kind of, been all consuming. This is going on his 4th year in office. He's looking at re-election in 2026. And this has kind of been like the only big thing progressing in the city of St. Pete. So like a lot of Welch's legacy and like political capital kind of rides on this deal. So, Welch said openly, to me and also openly, like the Rays are the closer. All they got to do is close this. Like we've never been closer. But whether that will happen or not, we've got 2 months.
Yeah, and I certainly want to ask you because we've talked about it before, whether or not you think it gets done. But I'm just curious, when you look at overall everything we've heard over the last handful of months, with a lot of these things changing and going back and forth, and it feels done, and it feels like it's not done. Would you say that, go back 4 or 5 months, today you feel more strongly one way or the other as far as whether this thing gets done? Has it changed?
I don't know. I mean, I couldn't tell you, because now it's like, okay, everything happened that was supposed to happen, even with all these road bumps. The tenor, by the way, is certainly different, right?
Yes.
We're still seeing these like back and forth, like we saw back and forth letters between the Rays and the Pinellas County Commission regarding boats. That's now happening between the city and the Rays on repairing Tropicana Field. The kind of like lovey-dovey, like, kumbaya here to stay is like, that's not really here. That's not happening anymore. So certainly different from last summer. Whether it happens or not, honestly, it would just be speculation.
Yeah.
I don't feel or could possibly say one way or another what's going to happen.
Really quickly before we get you out of here, when it comes to the repairs to Tropicana Field and that latest statement from the St. Pete City Council was basically like, oh, hey, by the way, just so you know, we don't really have to do this on any kind of timeline. We can take as long as we want. What do you think they hope to accomplish with that statement?
I mean, these letters, I think, are all very obviously lawyered. And it is true in that it just says, you have to work diligently to pursue these repairs, but it doesn't have like an end date. You have to complete it, but there's no like timeline or anything that really governs that. And I think the real difference here is, remember, the repairs were already underway. They had votes. It was approved in like, what was the vote at the time? Because we were missing a council member. It was like 6-2, or 6-2 or 5-3. No,
either like Brian Auld stepped in and stopped it.
Exactly, and it voted and it passed and it was over, and it was like, okay, the shop's getting repaired. It's getting a new roof, and Brian Auld after made comments to the media. I was there. They were reported, I believe, via my friend and colleague Mark Topkin. And one of the city council members read his comments out loud and had Brian come up, and he was like, yeah, we also believe that like it's best because we'll have to come up with alternative plans for 2026. And they, based on Brian's comments, called the vote back and voted it down. So like, it's not like the city delayed it. Yeah. The city did not delay it. The Rays clearly delayed it. It's on tape for anybody to watch. There were 100 people in the room who saw what happened, me being one of them. So yeah, the fact it's like, okay, and the city, by the way, I just want to be clear, does think that it can get done by 2026. I've seen that they'll probably vote on it March 27th, that date could move. But that is also the latest they could possibly do it according to their own timeline. So, yeah, I think they're kind of saying, like, hey, just want to point out there's nothing in here that says we have to get it done in time. But, yeah, like any delay on that front that's the race.
Colleen, always appreciate your time. Thanks so much. Of course, find Colleen's amazing work in the Tampa Bay Times. I imagine we'll be having a conversation very similar to this very soon.
Thanks so much for having me back. You guys have a good one.
You too,
Thank you,
Colleen.
Colleen.
Colleen is as fair in this reporting as it gets.
Yeah.
As it gets.
No doubt
Critical
about it.
of the Rays when it needs to be done. She's really just doing the reporting, which I appreciate, but it's not leaning one way or the other. I think she's just giving everyone the facts. So when it comes to the Rays Stadium, Colleen Wright is the one to follow. She's been all over it.
You know what else you would appreciate? We'd all appreciate this. How about a year, no mortgage payment, no rent or car loan, no payments for a year? That could be a reality for you with Suncoast Credit Union's no payments giveaway. Simply become a member of Suncoast and you'll automatically be entered to win.
It's so easy. And on top of that, you get to experience all the benefits that Suncoast Credit Union has to offer, like lower rates on loans, free ATMs at Publix and Wawa. And on top of that, new member perks like BOGO tickets to our friends at Mosey. We love our friends at Mosey.
So dream bigger and visit suncoast.com/no payments to learn more.
No purchase necessary. Starts 1/20/25 and 6/30/25. You open to U.S. residents age 18 or older. For official rules, see suncoast.com/MPGR.
The Lightning are hosting the Chicago Blackhawks tonight. We'll talk about what they need to do to find a little. Aaron 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. The Tampa Bay Lightning. We detailed some of the numbers earlier from Julien Brisebois about the fact that, you know what, maybe they're a little bit better than their record says they are. Certainly a lot of the numbers dictate that. They'll be back on the ice tonight, taking on the Chicago Blackhawks. And, of course, calling that game on television is our good friend Dave Randorf. He joins the show now. Make sure you're watching that game tonight on, I almost said the B word, on FanDuel.
Can't say the B word.
Can't say the B word. Dave Randorf from FanDuel joining us right now. Dave, good morning. How are you?
Boys, how have you been? Haven't talked to you for a while. How are you guys doing?
We've been buried in football, Dave. I'm not going to lie to you. We've been buried in football, but we always love having you on, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, and I've been certainly keeping in touch with what's been going on in football, too. Too bad about the Bucs and too bad about my Bills, but we'll look forward to the upcoming Super Bowl.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to the playoffs eventually for this Tampa Bay Lightning team. Certainly hope that they'll be in a good position by them. A little bit of an up and down year so far, and I've been saying to Aaron that I'm not sure. I'm not sure that this team can compete for a Stanley Cup, but Julian Brisebois did a hell of a job yesterday presenting some of the numbers and what they mean. Is this hockey team significantly better than their record says they are, Dave?
I think they should be better, to tell you the truth. If you look at what they've got and the core and the elite and the high end, the talent that they have, and the special teams that they have to go along with it, this team should be better than the results that they're getting. And I thought a lot about this morning when I got up is how am I going to present this without sounding like I'm making excuses? Because the record is this month what it is. Let's get this one thing out of the way right off the bat. The schedule has been a grinder.
Yep.
We knew this when the schedule came out. When you looked at ahead and you looked at January and you went, wow, that's pretty heavy. Well, here we are near at the end of it, and it's not been good, particularly on the road, and it's not been great all season within their division. The record of 3-9 inside their division is just unacceptable. You can't have that. And they've given away way too many points within the Atlantic Division. But having said that, if you look at how they have played over the last month, given the circumstances and everything else that's been piled on them, there haven't been a lot of stinkers. There's been a couple in there where I thought, you know what, they didn't play well. Like there was a game at Boston, I really thought they came out really flat at, and despite I think they had 45 shots that night. And people said, well, they had 45 shots. No, they were flat. They were chasing the game all night long against a big-time division rival. That is one game I would point out to as being real flat, underachieving. The rest of it, there's been a lot of games, including the other night when they were shut out for the first time in 113 games. I thought that was a good game against the Detroit Red Wings, a team that has been on the rise since they made a coaching change. It was a great game. It was a playoff atmosphere, and they came up short, and they missed 2 or 3 empty nets that this team just does not miss. So there's been some weird things going on. There's been some goals not going in. If you look at this road trip, it reminds me a little bit of a road trip they had to California earlier this month, and which seems about 2 months ago, but it was only a few weeks ago, where they went 0-3 in California and scored 3 goals. And we looked at all 3 of those games and thought, you know what, they didn't really play that bad. They just didn't score. Now, at the end of the day, they are sitting in the second wildcard spot, and there are literally 5 teams within 3 points of them behind them that are nipping at their tails there to try to take that wildcard spot. And the one thing that I don't like hearing as somebody who's around the team, or even as a fan of the team, is they say, well, they've got games in hand. Yes, they do. I get it. I can look at the standings too. But you got to win those games. You've got to take advantage of those games in hand. And everybody's saying, well, the Boston Bruins, they're not really that good. Well, guess what? They're ahead of you. Stop with just looking at the games played. You've got to win the games in hand, and they're not.
Yep, 0-6. You mentioned the 3-8 against divisional opponents, 0-6 against Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa alone. But would you say, I'm looking at this schedule, I'm looking at, how tough this grind has been, and they're definitely gassed for sure. I talked about that yesterday, and Julian Brisebois said as much. I feel like, though, Dave, the battle test of the grind, as the season goes on, that starts to ease up a little bit, but you're battle tested now. I think this could actually help them, help their chemistry later parts down the stretch when they get their legs back.
There's something to that. I still think they're a playoff team. Make no mistake, I'm not here saying that they're going to miss the playoffs. I do not think they're going to miss the playoffs.
Same.
And adversity is something that you can use to build for when the games really matter, when the postseason hits. And if you look at this Eastern Conference, guys, I mean, Toronto's had a really good season. And, Washington has certainly jumped out way ahead of everybody's expectations. But I would submit that there is no true runaway winner in the entire Eastern Conference that the Lightning cannot compete with, so they can't make noise against. So, and I know a lot of other teams feel that way too. So you just got to get in here, and I think they are going to get in. And when you cruise through a season with really, not too many bumps in the road, when adversity hits at the worst possible time, how do you deal with it then?
We've seen that before.
This group we've seen that.
We know that. We don't talk about it, but we know this.
But, we are referring about the 62-win season.
We don't talk about it.
Well, I talk about it because it was important to the back-to-back Stanley Cups that came after that.
It's true.
I truly believe that the lessons learned from that disappointment and that kick in the behind, they don't change their game. They don't look themselves in the mirror hard enough to win those 2 Stanley Cups that they ended up doing and going to 3 straight Stanley Cups finals. So, yeah, I get it. Nobody likes to bring that up, but I think it was a major point in this team getting the back-to-back cups. So back to this year, the adversity is something you can use and something you could build upon. And at the end of the day, you just got to look at yourself on paper and say, we still have a heck of a team here. And we've got our core is elite. We've got arguably the best line in hockey right now. And I'm talking about across the board. A lot of other teams have good guys, like a couple of very strong pairings, and then another guy. Well, this line of Gensel and Point and Kucherov across the board is, for my money, the best line in the NHL. Where they really need help, guys, is, and this has been an issue all season long, is depth scoring along their bottom 6, bottom 7 forwards. I just did a little quick math, and over the past month, they've got 4 goals from the bottom 7 forwards, and that's not enough. And you're really leaning on guys like Point and like Gensel and like Hagel and Cirelli, and of course Kucherov, who's played 26 minutes on average the last 4 games alone. I mean, they are riding that horse into the ground. So, and he's producing, he's getting it done, but they've got to get some guys to chip in the bottom group.
Let's say we get into intermission tonight, and maybe Julian Breezeball just kind of sneaks into the booth and sits down with you and says, "All right, Dave, and what am I doing? What do I need to do?" I guess you kind of answered that a little bit, right? But what do I need to do before the trade deadline to make sure this team is really set up for the stretch run?
Yes, Julian often pops into the booth and asks my opinion. No, he's very good at communicating with, as he did yesterday. That doesn't happen around the league, guys. The GM's coming up and sitting in front of microphones and cameras and being honest with the fan base. So Julian does that. I think they need help in the bottom 6, just as I said. I think everybody would love to have another defenseman. Every team in the league would say, yeah, we'd like to have another defenseman or 2. Their defense group is not bad. Once you get J.J. Moser back in there on that top pairing, I would assume, with Victor Hedman, picking up where he left off, it settles things back into a group of 7 guys. Your stopper pair, as long as Chernak can stay in the lineup and stay healthy, that's a great pairing with he and McDonough. There is no team in the league that is 6 defensemen deep. Nobody. The salary cap doesn't allow it. So I think the Lightning, their D group is all right. And would they like to add? Sure. But if you're going to prioritize, they need some help in the bottom 6. They got to get some more pop down there and take a little pressure off the guys up on the top 2 lines, because that's where you really get exposed, your depth in the playoffs and your forward group. And that's where I'm pretty certain they're looking at.
And to your point, 85% of their goals coming from 5 players alone. So needs to add some depth there. Noted Bills fan Dave Randorf, is the NFL rigged?
You're asking me this at the end of my segment? How long do we have?
I'm very interested in this now. We've got as much time as you need, Dave Randorf.
No, I'm not going to go on a big rant. That was a stressful but great AFC Championship game. I don't even think you had to be a Bills or Chiefs fan to appreciate what a high level game that was between 2 very good teams. But Why can't they put some kind of measuring chip or something in the ball to let you know what is a first down and what is not?
Because it's not round.
Instead of having what?
No,
there's got to be some technology, boys. It seems archaic. It seems, when we've got tennis has got the robotic eye, which revolutionized how things are called there, and there's lots of technology out there. I look back at that 1 4th down that was deemed not a first down, and that was a huge turning point.
It's because the ball in tennis is round, is what we're hearing, because they do have the chip and the technology in the football, but it's not accurate enough because you don't know, because the shape of the football is so odd that they haven't perfected it yet. But I'm with you. I think they got to figure this thing out. Elon Musk or somebody. Somebody's got the technology.
It goes beyond that. I'm going to send you a great clip on X, Dave, because it does go beyond that, believe it or not. Because you got to realize, and I never thought of this either, Dave, until I heard Ross Tucker was on the Dan Patrick Show right here on WDAE, actually. And he was talking about how, yes, we can see where the ball was, but because, as Aaron said, the shape of the ball, but also because what it can't measure from a chip in the ball is, when does the knee hit the ground? When does the forearm hit the ground? When do you actually become down by contact? The ball may continue to move and be placed beyond and end up beyond where you actually come down and make contact with the ground. That's, I think, what they're still trying to figure out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and certainly when you're in a big pileup, that would be something to consider. But let's solve one problem at a time. Boys, let's solve one problem at a time and put some kind of, I don't know, can you wrap the entire ball in some kind of film, that makes the entire ball eligible to be detected at a first down marker. I don't know, but listen, we're out. I'm not going to whine about it too much longer. And it was disappointing, to see the Bucs go out the way they did as well. But obviously, Washington was pretty darn good that day.
Lost $100 on the Bills, man.
I told you not to do it.
I did. I believed him. I thought he was going to get over the hump and slay the dragon. Didn't do it. You will get it one of these years. One day.
So did we. Well, we're running out of time here. Josh Allen has had a lot of great seasons. Well, none better than this one. So we'll see what the MVP voters say. But it doesn't matter. They won a Super Bowl there in Buffalo. That's for sure.
No doubt about it. At Dave Randorf. And I think once Detroit was out, the entire country was rooting for you guys, too. At Dave Randorf is how you find him on X again. Hear him or see him and hear him on FanDuel during every Lightning game. Dave, always a pleasure to have you on. We'll talk to you again soon.
Hang in, Lightning fans. They are better days ahead. Longest homestand of the season's coming up here.
Yes, and that's going to be a lot of fun starting. And Dave, again, as always, thank you for your time.
You got it.
The great Dave Randorf right there. He really is.
Just like a real dude.
It's kind of like our dude Brian Stamey. You always talk about how much he's like a real dude. Just a real dude. You know why? Because he comes from a real place. The only jewelry store that reigns supreme right here in Tampa Bay. And that is, of course, the International Diamond Center. IDC is a Florida-based company with international connections that go back for decades. The owner used to be a huge supplier for diamond and jewelry stores all over the eastern seaboard. With IDC, you're going to get access to one of the nation's largest selections of real, natural, precious diamonds, certified by the GIA, which is the world's most trusted gem lab. No middleman markups, no broker fees, no pricing games, just straight up value pricing on every diamond in all shapes and all sizes.
So if you're considering a diamond purchase, you must talk with the experts at IDC and let them help you avoid the pitfalls. The non-commissioned experts at IDC, they're going to show you how diamonds are priced on the world market, and they're going to teach you the tricks on how you can max out on your budget without the compromises. That's important. They're going to show you multiple diamonds in your size, your price range, so you can choose the one that makes the most sense for you. International Diamond Center, it's your first and last stop. Trust us, they are the most trusted diamond experts at IDC. Tampa, Clearwater, Lakeland, and Sarasota. ShopIDC.com. Pat, you and I talk about how they're real over there and they're real people. Unlike, who's close? They're home of the Gator, or they're Gators fans over there.
Yeah, the official jeweler of the Gators, I think is what you were trying to say.
They've got Liam Cohen nearby now. Not a real dude. He's a Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Feel bad for them. He's nearby.
Not
Gotta watch
far.
out for Pinocchio. He's not a real boy.
That's true. Well, listen.
He wanted to be.
They're always going to give you a great deal, but I would suggest if Liam shows up, just, for that one guy, don't give him a great day. I'm kidding. They'd never do that at International Diamond Center. All right, this is the show of the people. Mike's been hanging on in St. Pete for nearly half an hour. Dave is on hold as well. They
WDAE and AM 620.
Pat Aaron Show 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Awesome speaking with Colleen Wright and Dave Randorf over the last couple of segments, but it's also always awesome talking to you goons as well, even when you're crazy. And it sounds like our next two callers may just be crazy. Mike's been waiting 35 minutes. I mean, that alone says he might be nuts. Mike, good morning.
Good morning. I'm just letting you know, because I trained at the highest level you can do in professional boxing. Okay, I can show you, sit down, show you videos with me in the corner and everything.
How many dives did you take, Mike?
What now?
How many dives did you take?
I've had 5 world champions, and one of them was a 3-time world champion.
Nice.
So to say that they don't rig, let me explain something to you. In professional boxing, we have what you call opponent trainers, and then you have house trainers. House trainers are under the biggest promoters there is. So a referee will come into your dressing room and ask you, what does this guy do that you don't like? So he could call him for it. You can't rig the players because the players make too much money. Okay? Same thing in football. You cannot rig it in that way. But you can pay referees to call stuff in the other team's favor.
And then, Mike, to be fair, that's why we've heard about boxing being dirty forever. When you're talking about an entire league of officials, you realize how absurd that sounds, that an entire league of officials would all be dirty and it would never get out.
Understand, you're right about the whole officiating. You're 100% correct.
Because if you think
you're not
about
gonna
it,
be able to do that because you have whistleblowers.
And not only that, not only the whistleblowers, in boxing you have one guy who's up there refereeing, right? It's on him. If he wants to throw it, he throws it. You have a group
but boxing is the judges. They get
True. Good point. You have a bigger group, though, of referees that during the judges, that's after the match, right? They're tallying, they're tallying the scores, they're tallying everything, and then they can come back with a decision. The refs are in live action. Whatever sport the officials are in, the sport's moving quickly, most likely. You'd have to get everyone, all the officials in that game, in that specific game, to get on board with you. Now, of course, you can have the Donahues in basketball. You can have the solo one-off referee who's on their own, got mixed up with the wrong crowd. They want to make that extra money on the side. And, of course, they could have their own individual impact on the game. But is that enough in most cases to change the outcome of the game? I just don't believe it's that easy.
No, it's not that easy. You're 100% right. But if you change the momentum of what's happening, just like the first drive Buffalo was going down the field, he got the first down. Allen got the first down. It was clear.
Yeah.
He got the first down,
and
they didn't give it to him.
Wasn't quite that clear.
Then
Mike, let me ask you this, because Mike, we have to have time for Dave. We're kind of up against it.
Yeah.
I'm curious based on, because I'm a little confused, honestly, based on our conversation. Are you arguing that the game is or isn't rigged?
The game itself is not rigged. You can rig the officials.
Well, yeah, it's not happening. Like, you acknowledged yourself that would be crazy, but thank you for the phone call, because it would be. To think that the entire league has officials that are, to your point, like you said, there would be whistleblowers. It's silly. Dave's in Spring Hill. I do want to get Dave in before the break as well. Dave, good morning.
Hey. Having a certain team win is only the secondary goal. The primary goal is for the game to be in doubt until the last minute. How many
did you watch the NFC, Dave? Dave, just out of curiosity, did you watch the NFC Championship game by any chance?
Oh, you have to have a blowout every now and then to keep it on.
Jesus.
That's ridiculous, man.
Oh, dude.
You don't believe the words that are coming out of your mouth, do you?
How many games this year are won with a field goal kick with 3 seconds
Yeah, it's
left?
football.
There's usually 3 a week.
Welcome to football.
Welcome to the scripted football, Aaron.
It's the sponsors.
All right, Dave, thank you for the phone call.
Oh, my God. How many buzzer beaters have we seen in basketball?
Well, the sponsors need those too.
How many walk-off home runs have we seen in baseball?
The hell with it.
No, because it's absurd.
Some of you guys are cuckoo, man.
His argument is how many games are decided by a field goal at the end of the game? That's your argument?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Listen, just so you know, while they specialize in all kinds of injuries, our friends at Florida Orthopedic Institute, if you have any kind of injury, they are who you want to see. But also, if you didn't know, they also can help with concussions. And based on some of our calls, I think some of you may have a concussion. If you need to see a great doctor, whether it be for a concussion, an elbow injury, a knee injury, a back injury, you know what to do. Go see our friends at Florida Orthopedic Institute in partnership with Tampa General Hospital.
And it's really easy to book the appointment to access.
Even if you have a concussion.
That's right. To access the world-class orthopedic care right here in Tampa Bay, call 1-800-
back to the Pat and Aaron Show on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
The Blender.
The Blender on the Pat and Aaron Show is brought to you by Mazda of Clearwater. If you're thinking about a new or pre-owned vehicle, the choice is clear. It is Mazda of Clearwater. And don't forget, tomorrow we are live from Mazda of Clearwater, right on US 19, just south of Roosevelt and East Bay Drive. Come hang out with us. Our friend is going to be there with Wicked Chops, his food truck, slanging some delicious food all the way through lunch, by the way. He's going to be there till like 1:30. We'll be there. He's going to have some breakfast items in the morning, but we'll be there 6 to 9. You're going to have a chance to win some cool gift cards. All you got to do is beat Casey's time in a couple of games we're going to have. And also don't forget, top of the hour coming up in just a little bit. You could take $1,000 and, I don't know, put it down on a new Mazda if you wanted to, but you can win $1,000 coming up at the top of the hour. Just make sure you tuned in for the nationwide keyword right here on WDAE. What have we missed today, Mr. Warner?
What we have missed is some interesting Jerry Jones comments we got from a texter. One of them said that there was another glory hole comment from Jerry Jones. Now, in case you missed it, here was the comments Jerry Jones made yesterday involving glory holes after Brian Schottenheimer's introductory press conference.
There's a very low percentage of this that is smiles and glory holes.
Now, apparently, Jerry Jones
he smiles the most.
Has something very passionate with glory holes, because this was years ago.
There's a lot of passion at those things.
Yeah, this is years ago when he was in a press conference and he brought up glory holes yet again.
It's a reminder. I, too, been here 23 years. And it is a reminder. I've been here when it was glory hole days, and I've been here when it wasn't. And so, having said that, I want me some glory hole.
Oh, my God!
So I have that perspective.
Go to the end again. I was laughing over it. You hear the reporters laughing. He definitely doesn't realize why they're laughing. Listen to that all over again.
And so, having said that, I want me some glory hole. So I have that perspective.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know. That's the
he knows.
You think he knows?
He's got to know.
No.
You're going to tell me that after that one, nobody pulled him aside and was like, yo, Jerry, do you know what that means?
Like I said, he's got passion for the glory holes.
You got to save that and have that as a drop forever. How did we miss that a couple years ago? That's incredible.
I need to know what
and
else.
So having said that, I want me some glory hole.
Just the I want me some glory holes. Like, you need to cut that and use that until the end of time.
I want to know what it means outside of porn. Because there's got to be something clean.
A good time.
No,
man.
I think he just has heard it before. He knows the term, and he's just thinking glory. And instead of just ending it at glory, he had to add a hole.
So I searched glory hole not porn just to see what came up.
And porn came up.
The very first thing was actually a Reddit thing on something called No Stupid Questions, and somebody said, "Are they real or just porn fantasy?"
It's just your life is a glory hole, glorious hole. I don't know why that term is stuck in his head, but he's been using it apparently for years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was completely unaware too, so that's good stuff. Thanks to the texter that told us about that, because I was totally unaware that was even said.
If he was watching glory hole videos or taking part in it, I think he would be very cognizant of not saying it out loud, which makes me actually think he doesn't know what it is.
But there's got to be some other...
No, he just has heard it a lot, and he's just saying it.
Is it legal? Somebody said, is it illegal to operate one?
My gosh. Have fun. More power to you.
We'll
get some anonymity in your life.
We'll end the show with some standard sports positive news. Your Mike Evans, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans, has been announced to his 6th Pro Bowl. His 6th Pro Bowl ties him with Bucs legend Mike Alstott for the most by an offensive player in franchise history. Only defenders, Derek Brooks with 11 and Warren Sapp with 7, have more. He is replacing CeeDee Lamb, who is sitting out of the Pro Bowl games. Excuse me, not the Pro Bowl, the Pro Bowl games. We talking about practice.
Why did he not get in over him?
CeeDee had a pretty good season.
Cowboys sucked.
Yeah, they did.
I know it's an individual thing, but and also Baker Mayfield not getting it too.
By the way, some people on the text line are saying it is about the oil, which didn't Jerry Jones come from oil money? So that might make sense.
That's the glory.
That's where they find, when they dig and they find all the oil.
Yes.
That is.
Somebody's got to tell
Which, if
him.
you think about what happens.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
When you strike oil.
No, I don't want to do that.
We're not oil guys.
I don't want to do that. By the way, before we wrap up here, want to let everyone know, start your new year off right with a new financial plan. Call my friends at Trajan Wealth today. They're going to help you out here when it comes to retirement planning, wealth management. It's exactly what they do over there. They're going to work closely with you, whether it's a face-to-face appointment, a virtual appointment. Book that appointment today. 1-800, sorry, my bad. Let me start that over. 813-550-1000. Want to get that right because free initial consultation. 813-550-1000. Like I said, local offices here in Tampa. So make sure you develop that plan today with my friends at Trajan Wealth. They're going to help you get that peace of mind. TrajanWealth.com is where you can find out more. Advisory services offered through Trajan.